Anyway, speaking of Roger Moore, let's move on.
Yeah. So then obviously she felt burnt by Lazenby. So then, and so she was like, I don't know who this Roger Moore is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
I was like, I don't know.
So then Live and Let Die starts and.
Love it. Oh my god, my favorite.
It's her favorite.
Bond.
Oh, it is.
It's her favorite.
My favorite. And
That's legit.
I'll tell you why.
It's one of my favorites as well. I love it.
It is fun. It is so fun. God, that sequence where they're doing the funeral march.
The New Orleans,
and he's like, who's dead? And he's like, you are. And then they stab him. And it's like this crazy movie.
So everyone's in it, are they? Wouldn't it just be easier to take that man somewhere else and stab him? No, it must be a big thing.
God, I loved it. I loved him. I love Jane Seymour is one of the best Bond girls ever. I love how she like has these mystical powers, and then she's like, screw it, I'm gonna get laid instead.
Literally screw it.
Literally does, I loved her. She was beautiful, and she could act, and she, you could really sense her fear with like the head honchos and
she plays a naive character. She's
really
supposed to be, fragile and naive, but she's
fab. And then
she
Roger
does it so
Moore.
well.
Oh my God, Roger Moore comes in and he saves the day on Bond, and he's like, and what I love, because you have Connery, who's this sort of suave, so I'm gonna slap you down, which he does very sexily, and then any the only man that could ever get away with abusing a woman would be Sean Connery.
Well, he
and he's had
he did apparently.
Right.
That's fine. Open palm is okay. He went on.
There's interesting interviews with him.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Which he sort of recanted later on.
But
like,
so. You had his spark, and you had me thinking like, oh no, nobody's gonna beat this now, because he even overtook Pierce from I was like,
sure,
wow.
yeah.
And then Roger Moore comes in, and he's lighthearted. He's still like very sexy, very British, very proper. That sort of proper.
He looks really good in Live and Let Die. He really does.
Yeah. I mean, he was 45.
But he was 45, finished at 58, and he.
She's read all his books now. She loves him.
She's love Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And he was just a gem. And his lines, his lines. Oh my God, his like keeping up the
British. Yeah, that's it. That's in Spoil Love Me. But
just like
the But what I love, one of my favorite things about Live and Let Die is the pre-credit sequence. Is the Bond that he isn't in. And it, so you can and you imagine being in the audience in that going and going okay, well here to see the new Bond, and we're not going to show him to you yet, and you just see all these assassinations happening around the world, and
assassination
by sound, but
I'm dead now.
And then and then the last one is the voodoo one, and the guy gets and the strings are building, and then he gets hit by the snake, and the George Martin score goes down, all the strings go bomb. When you were young, and the Paul McCartney song starts. Could you imagine being in the cinema watching that?
No, I mean, it's amazing.
And the atmosphere. I think one of the things that you when you were trying to put into words why you loved it so much. I said it's the atmosphere, isn't it? It's just got a great atmosphere. That movie.
It also just sort of the occult is in James Bond. And it's I agree. It just does what goes balls to the wall in a lot of
names
ways.
is for tombstones, baby.
Roger Moore brings it back, especially after Lazenby.
I'm reading Live and Let Die at the moment. That's what I'm on. So I haven't finished it yet, but it's a troubling book. Should we put it that way in terms of its attitudes towards race?
Mm-hmm. But the filmmakers didn't. The filmmakers,
they were
because they invented the great sheriff. Sheriff Pepper, which
Mr. Big. So the villain of the book is Mr. Big, and Mr. Big is not like in this. Obviously, it's Kananga who's masquerading as Mr. Big, because Kananga's the guy who ran the crocodile farm in real life.
Right. Yes, that's
Ross
right.
Kananga.
Yeah.
He's the one who does the run and cross and stuff.
Isn't it?
So they named the main villain after him, and made him just like an amalgamation. But Mr. Big was this kind of like international criminal, basically. Just he loved crime.
Yep.
And again, we get into this. He had a heart condition which made his skin ashen, and all sorts of it's a very troubling book so far. I can't imagine it's going to get any better.
Who do you think about?
But I also don't judge. I kind of go like, look, this is very much sort of product of its time, and you kind of have to say
absolutely.
See, and that I think that's important as well. Is and respect it for what it is.
Yeah, I
mean, things happened.
But Clifton James is I mean we're just constantly quoting him all the time. That what are you, some kind of doomsday machine boy? And he was a character written by I think Tom McAnowitz created him, or one of the writers created him as a response to some of the negative attitudes they were encountering down in the South.
He predated, because I mean, like a lot of people say, it's a sort of rip off of the Smokey and the Bandit thing. It's like
predates that. Predates that totally. By about 8 years.
And because that whole sequence, obviously, people talk about where it's like it's just this insanely long boat chase that just keeps going.
Yeah.
But it's like, and again, predating things like Smokey and the Bandit, you go like, well, actually, that was all like just one long car chase. And so I think it has a lot going for it. Is
that the one where the car flips?
No, that's the next one. We'll get onto that.
So Livid, and obviously it ends with Baron Samedi still on the front of the train.
Which is so good.
And you're just kind of like, what? Yeah. Jeffrey Holder, amazing.
Yeah, he's a dancer,
good. And he just
beautiful day.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But they're like, I loved everybody's acting in this. I loved the ball. I loved everything about this film.
You even forgive the fact that the main villain is dispatched like a balloon.
Yeah,
he's blown up. He's blown up like a balloon.
That's what's so amazing about the movie is it gets away with that,
and it's really bad because obviously they crop in really.
They're zooming in because obviously it looked terrible. So like, great, we've got to do something in post with this.
Have you seen? If you Google it,
it's on
Cananga balloon.
Yeah, it's
There's
there.
a picture of the prop
of
next
the
to like just sat on the side of the pool, and his eyes are all bulging.
His eyes bulging, and it explodes, and it's like, why is there not guts everywhere?
Well, and it literally goes. Yeah, why are they not showered in intestines? It's just absurd. And it's like, it's a shark gun, so therefore it's full of compressed gas. Why do we need to blow sharks up? Like, I guess, and this is pre-Jaws?
Yes, yeah. Very,
so, so why?
Anyway, 3 years.
So, The Man with the Golden Gun. Derided film. I really don't know why. It's one that I've always really enjoyed, and it gets.
I enjoy it. It's not one of the best, but it's got Christopher Lee, and Christopher Lee is superb in it.
Arguably the sort of proto Bond, because he's obviously Ian Fleming's cousin.
Yeah,
he was who Ian Fleming kind of saw as James Bond. It was Hoagie Carmichael. You have to look up these days because no one alive remembers who he was. Sorry, Dad. But no, it's one of those ones where it's like and he's perfect as Scaramanga, because Scaramanga, and again I haven't got to the book. The book was the last. I think Ian Fleming died right while he was writing it, so it was finished by a ghostwriter, I think.
So it ends with little Monty Python reference there for you.
On the trail off. So it's a later one. Rich is dying behind the camera. But it's it gets for me. So for me, I'm quite I love my Casino Royales, my From Russia with Loves, all the kind of serious proper Bond stuff. But the workaday Bond films, so the ones where it's just animation. I mean, this isn't quite that, and this is honestly, when people ask me what would you do next with James Bond, I would say the best interest. So GoldenEye did this in a smaller way, but it's like one of the better ways to introduce a new Bond without sort of starting from scratch and being an origin story is to have him up against a darker side of Bond type villain. Yeah, and Scaramanga's perfect for that. He's like an assassin. He's he's kind of Red Granty. He's kind of so for me, it's like it. I think it's brilliant. I love that film. I know it has things that haven't aged well in it. I get that. It was very much
suitcase.
Well, it's sort of blowing in the wind, kind of like Roger Moore's stuff did this for a while, so it would just follow trends. So obviously you had the blaxploitation with Live and Let Die. This is the Kung Fu craze. Yeah. Spy Love Me is kind of its own thing, but then you were sort of getting into the Star Wars stuff and everyone, so it was very magnet beside a compass kind of thing. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry.
This is the one with the car flipping. Which is one of the greatest stunts in cinema history.
Designed by computer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
the stunt itself was actually done by a man, and they did it one take, and they wanted to do another take, and they were like, "No."
Gubby handed him 20 grand or something for doing it.
Yeah, for doing it. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
But imagine that.
And you know what they thought when they looked at it? They said, "You know what we need to do with this in post is put a penny whistle on it."
Slide whistle, darling, slide whistle.
Or a slide whistle. One of them.
It's equally egregious. A penny whistle would have been sort of vaguely folkish. And not at all.
Is this the one where he ends up in like a mirror maze? And
the fun house.
Yeah, kind of
the fun house.
I really liked that. I thought that was great.
Well, again, that's part of the kung fu craze, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the Bruce Lee.
Yeah. And then Knick-Knack. That's where I referenced the suitcase earlier. Yeah.
Very, very sadly committed suicide. But
he was. Do you know why? Bless him. He was. So basically, his condition meant that his organs were normal sized, and he was not.
Oh dear.
So, like cramming something into a suitcase, that was kind of his life, which is awful. Poor guy. But apparently he was quite the Lothario.
Yes, he didn't stop himself. Yeah.
But that damn I will crawl inside.
But but I think but I
want to get
I like it. It's got its own flavour. It's got its own thing, and I like it. And Moore's great in it. Moore's great in it.
It's got some iconic stuff as well, like Phuket. Is in, it's featured it's very, like, I love the locations.
Yes. It's beautiful. It's
obviously
beautiful.
Tomorrow Never Dies went back there, but that island, Scaramanga's island, has the lair, has everything at the end, has that incredible stuff with Britt Eklund, him running out of the explosion. There is that horrible bit where she utterly stacks it on the floor, and they're like, keep going. Because it's really awful when you watch it back.
Yeah.
But I just think it's, Maud Adams is this some people say she's in a different film because it's like she's this horribly tragic character. And it really is, but you kind of go, but it is difficult watching Roger Moore slap around people.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I think he had a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why after that he never did that anymore.
Yeah, that was Connery, and you can't do that. You have to have your own character. You need to make it your own, and
100%.
And he does eventually get there.
So. Nobody did it better.
Nobody does it better.
Spy Who Loved Me, arguably the film that kind of... Again, you get these films that save the franchise, right? So, and this was very much one of those.
We saw this in the cinema.
Oh, wow.
I insisted on seeing this one in the cinema.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Bond songs.
Me too.
It is my favorite Bond song.
Shirley Bassey, again. A huge fan of her.
It's not Shirley Bassey.
I thought it was.
No, it's Carly Simon.
Of course it's Carly Simon and what's his face?
Marvin Hamlish wrote it.
Hamlish. I still like Shirley Bassey.
He wrote He wrote the score. The score's great. Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah, I don't know about the score's very disco.
Yeah. That's the one, though, where that wasn't meant to be a Bond song. It was actually supposed to be like a hit song. It was written for something else, I think. I feel like it was. And then they made it a Bond song, and then it was...
It's the first instance of a song feeling like it was written as a song.
Yeah, because I think she did. I think she did write it.
She didn't write it. Marvin Hamlish wrote it for Bond.
I know what you mean. It has that feel of just being a song that happens to be.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it's one of my favorites. When we sit down at the piano,
it's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Whenever a new Bond film comes out and they do a retrospective or whatever, and they put it on TV, that's always the song.
Yeah.
It's always what's over the ending montage. Nobody does it
But
better.
the movie has the ski jump at the beginning, which is just one of the greatest stunts in cinema history.
Yeah.
With the
Union Jack. Which had people applauding
Alan Partridge
cinema.
Recreated famously.
I love that.
Yeah.
And and obviously Jaws.
He's Horror is the character's name in the novel. It comes from his name is Horror, which is worse. But they called him Jaws because of Jaws.
Yeah.
The film.
Because of the film. This is so on the nose. It's like calling your character Avengers Endgame.
It's
just like right. My new villain, Titanic.
He couldn't wear those teeth for long periods of time. It really hurt him. They looked uncomfortable.
But you know what I love I love the Egyptian stuff in
Cairo.
The Cairo stuff.
I've been to that, by the way. You know that the big pyramid and Sphinx thing. I went to that in Cairo, and it is exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's very overwrought, but quite cool.
It's great, but I love it. All the lights changing and then coming in, and suddenly he's standing there, and
and that is literally what happens in the thing.
Yeah, but it's just great atmosphere to it. And
they did that trick shot, didn't they? Where they got like a cardboard.
Moore, it's like a still of Roger Moore like that.
Works.
It's great, and the effect, Derek Medding's effects are the miniature effects. That the tanker, which is
the Laparis,
only which is a miniature.
Yeah.
I mean, in most of the shots, it's a miniature.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
They built the 007 soundstage for this as well.
Yeah.
So it should be said that this was at a time, a very, very precarious time for the Bond franchise.
Yeah.
It's also when Cubby Broccoli took on full producing duties because Harry Saltzman had totally shat the bed in terms of his finances. So this is why they got sold off to MG. Controlling it with UA. And so from then on it became a negotiation, because I think for a long time as well they had both, I can't remember which film it was from, but they basically split producing duties. So I think Harry had done Man with the Golden Gun, Cubby I think did Live and Let Die, someone will correct me.
Right, yeah.
So it had been, because they weren't talking, they weren't, it
no.
wasn't working. So this is the first sort of Cubby Broccoli. It was coming back. It was like, we're building a whole soundstage so we can put.
Yeah, he basically threw it all. He went Eon. Yeah, he bet the farm on this movie, and it paid off because it was hugely successful and saved the franchise and is still regarded as one of the greatest Bond movies.
And it's
ever.
sort of probably the first Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Like that's what I like is going forward is it's fun. Well, not going forward because actually they stop the fun and they add explosives, but
going forwards in that period.
Yeah, all the memorable ones for me are fun, are sort of visually colorful and a bit different.
I guess we can move on to the controversial.
Well, so I don't even know why this is controversial.
Just before we do that, I agree. I don't. It shouldn't be controversial. This marks as well for me. Like I agree with if I'm going to just put on a Bond film on a Sunday afternoon and just have fun, it's Roger Moore.
It's Roger Moore.
Absolutely,
all day, every day, and it's usually one of those ones. Moonraker, a film we all love.
I love Moonraker.
Got kicked around. It's like it was again a whipping boy of the Bond franchise, but you kind of go, what's wrong with it? I know they go into space at the end. It kind of has that Thunderball slow down, everything's going slow thing.
Yeah, but it looks so much better, and we saw. And again, I insisted on seeing it in the cinema.
You didn't have to insist.
I
was there.
I wanted to see.
Drugged her and
I wanted to see those Derek Meddings miniatures on the big screen.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, they look so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay.
I get it's a broader movie. It's a slightly stupider movie in many ways, but it's so much fun. I love it. I love Moonraker. I will defend it.
The one with the pigeon double taking?
It is the gondola.
Yes. We went to Venice. We stood there, didn't we? I said, "This is where the pigeon double take."
Yeah. Oh wow, wonderful.
We did.
Yeah. Do you think that Die Another Day will be reappraised in a similar way to Moonraker?
No.
I know it's not.
No.
You don't.
No.
Because I know it isn't the same thing. I get that, and culturally I know it's not the same thing. But I do think things like, when someone goes, it's got an invisible car, you go like,
yeah, but that's not the problems with that movie.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But the things that people list as being the problems often aren't really the problem with it.
No. But
I get it. It's the kind of the totem that
they're
trying to look over. Okay, fair enough.
But I like again, for me with Moonraker, again, I love the music. I'm a big fan of the music.
The score is out of this world. I want to watch that movie live at the Royal Albert Hall with the score live. Of all the Bond movies, that's the one I would want to do.
But we were in the car going up to York, and Brad was playing just. It was the soundtrack, Bond soundtrack, but it wasn't. It was all instrumental, and Moonraker came on, and I instantly fell in love with that song. And I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Moonraker," and is that the one for If There Were a Man as well? Or
no, that's License to Kill.
Oh, okay. Well, but
Living Daylights.
What did I say?
License to Kill.
Sorry.
Anyway,
sorry.
But either way,
stop getting Bond wrong.
But we were listening to it, and I was blown away, and just came home, and I just learnt the song, And
it doesn't make sense.
It's one of the most underrated.
Just like the Moonraker knows.
But it's such a derided song. I mean, people,
I don't know why.
Even Shirley Bassey doesn't
even Shirley Bassey doesn't consider it. So I've never sung that again.
It's a beautiful song.
I think it's a lovely song, and I think it's a wonderful. And I particularly like the disco version in the end credits.
Yeah. But I love that. I really liked that Jaws finds love. I think I love that. She just comes and she's
that's probably the moment. That's something people point to. Go, this film is so stupid. Look at that.
Well, it's often referred to now as being another example of the Mandela effect, because everyone says they saw her having braces.
Yeah, and she doesn't. She doesn't at all.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
what
gosh.
the people point to.
No, she doesn't.
I always thought
because it would
she
make
did as
sense
well.
if she smiled at him and she had braces, because there's that moment.
Yeah.
You sure?
Fall in love.
Yeah.
But it was just cute, and I like the what's it called, those things, those cart thingies that go along the wire.
Cable cars.
Cable cars.
The cable cars, yeah.
I liked that sequence was good as well. The cable cars.
That's great. That scene is great.
It's such an
really,
adventurous film. I
really.
love Michael Lonsdale as Drax.
Lonsdale's brilliant.
I haven't got to it yet, but I believe the novel is one of the better or more interesting novels to read. It's nothing like the film, really, at all. Drax is a gangster, and again it comes back to some card game, and the Moonraker isn't no one goes into space basically, but
so it can't have Q saying he's attempting re-entry at the end.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah, which is the greatest line in Bond.
But I'm with
cinema.
you. I'm with you. I have so much fun with Moonraker. If I'm going to put on a Bond film, and to me it feels like, look, it's very much like, again, it's part of the Lewis Gilbert trilogy of vehicles what eat other vehicles, and it's like, and it's just, but it's just like, yeah. I mean, I know it's basically a retread of Spy Love Me in a lot of ways.
It's basically where Star Wars is big. We're going to go into space. Let's remake the Spy Love Me in space.
The end credits, obviously, of Spy Love Me go, and James Bond will return in
For Your Eyes Only,
which So For Your Eyes Only, then let's move on to that. That was sort of the let's get back down to earth.
Yep.
And originally, I think Roger Moore was out of his contract, so this is the first time Roger Moore was renegotiating to come back. And originally they were looking at other people. This is when Timothy Dalton came in.
That's right.
It's like 23 or something ridiculous. And they were really like, right, we're gonna have to. This would have been your Casino Royale reboot type thing. But old Rog came back.
Let's take it back down to earth.
What was he, 58 at the time?
No.
This
would have been in his 50s.
No, this is 81. Yeah, this is he's still got another 2 movies after this.
Oh, okay,
yeah, I know. Every time you think he's done.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I loved him. I don't mind. He was my favorite Bond, so
that's totally legit.
No, absolutely. I really like For Your Eyes Only. I think it's a cracking film.
Again, what happens?
So this is the one. This is the sort of. It's about the Havelocks and the Have-Nots. Who has locks and who has a knot?
This is with the Bill Conti disco score.
This is Melina, who's killed. It stars a Mrs. Pierce Brosnan. This is how Pierce Brosnan came into the.
Okay.
Yeah, she plays the Countess.
Yeah, so
whose accent slips.
Yeah.
Do you
remember any of this? It's the one. It's the end.
She gets killed on the beach.
In the monastery on the cliff, so that he has to climb up the cliff and he falls.
Carol Bouquet is seeking revenge for the death of her parents on the boat.
It's Bouquet.
Yes.
Not bucket.
And it has the great alarm system on the on the Lotus.
Well, that was all like that was a sort of big anti-move against, because Spy Who Loved Me, the Lotus had done it. This was like all it was an alarm.
It's like burglar protected, and he smashes it, and the whole thing blows up.
Yeah, it's sort of Roger Moore goes down to earth in a lot of ways,
and I think it's fun. And I think the skiing stuff is great. This is when we've mentioned Lewis Gilbert, we haven't mentioned directors much, but this is when John Glenn took over as director, which is quite controversial. Some people like him, some people don't. I can honestly say that from For Your Eyes Only, there is you can feel a difference in the action directing, in the way the action is staged. I think the action really goes up a notch with For Your Eyes. Just the pure action of ski chasing and all that stuff. It's not sped up photography. It's not any of that stuff going on. It's really well plotted, choreographed action.
You get things, because For Your Eyes Only often feels like a very sort of visually feels like quite a. For me, it was always felt like a less cinematic.
It's a small film, yeah. It feels
but,
small.
Can we see this
but you do get
no.
So when the Havelocks are murdered at the start from the with the, in the shot on in the sea and everything, the boat and the plane, that's so well shot.
Yeah,
and it feels like it's out something much more modern. I
think
it has very modern sensibilities in that sense. And the assault on the monastery at the end is like really well done.
It's fantastic. When he's climbing up the rope and the guy's he's knocking out the things and he's falling and it's
there's lots
super.
of Roger Moore ADR.
Yeah. And John Glenn's trademark of a pigeon flying out from somewhere.
Yes.
That got you. I remember you when he's calling along something, the pigeon flies out. You were like,
before we move on, the controversial thing about it is, for Roger Moore, really more than anyone else, is him kicking. What's his name? What's his name? What's the bad guy's name? What's the
the guy with the glasses.
I
didn't like that. I didn't like that.
I liked it.
Ferraro,
No,
right?
it wasn't my Roger.
I liked it, but
he said that.
Yeah.
He was like, because they filmed alternate versions where he threw the dove clip in, and that was enough to send the car in.
Well, that's what he insisted that they did that.
And I like it.
So do I.
Because I like seeing Roger. Roger Moore can do that. Like, I do think he has massive emotional range as an actor.
I think he does, but it's like Roger Moore without coffee. It just doesn't. It doesn't vibe. It's just like, no, Roger, what are you doing?
I think for me, my thing with that is I would rather have seen. So for him, I think I would rather have seen more instances of where the line is for his Bond.
But he does that in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
When the guy's holding onto his tie.
Yeah, where's Feke?
And he just he just kills him cold.
What a helpful chap.
Yeah.
I
like it. I like it when he does that.
I like his little one-liners.
Yeah.
But that for me, because it's very kind of cold-blooded. It's very just like done. Like, but I like it's become iconic. It has become iconic. So Octopussy. 4 pussies.
Again, I love that's Rita Coolidge, isn't it?
That's the all-time high.
All-time high, which is one of my.
Tim Roth.
Oh, you like
John
that
Barry.
I'm not a fan.
I like it. I like it. It's one of the most forgotten Bond songs.
Yeah, because it's.
That was my first.
No, I think it's really good.
It's toilet.
It's not toilet.
It's awful.
It's fantastic.
They're wrong. I'm still going back and forth. No, okay, I didn't. For me, it is kind of like it's a bit like sort of it's a ballad, it's a love ballad.
Yeah,
which is fine, but relative to the other ones that came before it, I just go.
It's very I like.
No, sure, yeah, it's no. Nobody does it better, yeah. But it's got a laser Roger Moore and a laser octopus going along the woman's body. Because lasers were a
full
thing.
Disclosure from me, Octopussy is one of the films I have massively reappraised. As I've gotten older, because it was always the kind of like stupid dopey.
I always found it really boring.
I used to hate it.
I need to watch it again.
I watched it.
Stephen Burkoff is wonderful.
Recent viewings, I love Octopussy.
Right,
I love it. It's fun. It clips along. Roger Moore's having a good time. I'll say this because obviously this is the film that went up against Never Say Never Again.
Yeah,
and it won, but it was the Battle of the Bonds year.
Yeah.
Now for me. Like
I told you about it when they remade Thunderball.
Because of the Kevin McClory thing. My grandfather sued. Everyone sued Kevin McClory. My grandfather sued Kevin McClory. I think because my grandfather was an architect who lived in the Bahamas. Kevin McClory lived in the Bahamas, and I think Kevin commissioned my grandfather to design him a pool house or something, which he did, and then Kevin didn't pay him, so he had to sue him. But in suing him, they became firm friends.
Well, too
and
right.
then my grandfather won anyway and got the money, but they became mates because that's the Bahamas.
That's the Bahamas.
So that's my sort of interest. But Kevin McClory is famously sort of this litigious thorn in the side of Eon through all this stuff, and he gets to effectively not anymore. He did, but he gets to remake Thunderball effectively as much as he wants to. As a result of a court settlement at this point, so he does Never Say Never Again. He entices Connery back. So this
gets the director of The Empire Strikes Back to do it.
He does, yeah. Irving Kershner. Deborah. I mean, he sounds like sort of Kermit the Frog meets Raymond Romano. Yeah. Oh my god!
But yeah, so Octopussy went up against that, and Octopussy won. But Never Say Never Again wasn't a flop.
By no means a flop.
Yeah.
No.
But
what I mean to say with that is both of those films, at least both actors look like they're having fun. And Never Say Never Again is more enjoyable than Thunderball in the sense that it looks like Connery's having a good time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Octopussy. It's like Roger Moore just has so much vitality and energy in that film. And the plot is utterly indecipherable.
Yeah.
It's like, is that the Fabergé? Which one's the real one?
The Fabergé, that whole what's real, what's not. What difference does it make?
It's one of the short stories. So Octopussy and The Living Daylights were part of a short story book, and then Property of a Lady is another one which is sort of then mentioned in it because of the auction and stuff like that, and Kamal Khan and all that kind of thing. And Octopussy is about the daughter of a guy he killed who was obsessed with, had a pet octopus or something or whatever. Something about
I just
spies.
don't remember ninjas or women.
No, it's the women.
Spies.
The women's circus.
That were all like highly trained.
Of sexy, unavailable women. It's very sort of.
It has the sit telling the tiger to sit.
Which is based on some woman
Barbara Woodhouse.
Barbara Woodhouse.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
And there's I think it's got some silly stuff, but I find it as a slodge to get through.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
And when watched it again recently, I enjoyed it more than I remember, but I still find it a bit of a slodge to get through. I still find the next one much more fun.
Okay, here we go. This is the most contentious part of this stuff. The last thing for me to say on Octopussy is that they filmed a lot of it near me, at the Neen Valley Railway, which is all the railway stuff. And there's that famous thing that the stuntman had a horrendous accident.
Yeah.
He was hanging off the side of it, and that was all filmed.
I forgot about that.
I went many years ago. I went to a Bond themed fancy dress party, New Year's Eve party of our mates, and all we went and so everyone's going, unimaginative people going in tuxes and all that stuff. Yeah,
that's what I would
but
I'd wear one of the what?
my good friend Mark came. No. This is a different Mark.
You know so many Marks.
I know there's too many Marks in my life.
Brown?
But Drakeford is his surname, and he you've met him, and he came to the party dressed as a clown. And with a helium balloon.
Man. Oh, good.
Yeah, and it's like only people. It's like now we see who knows Bond. It was great.
Very good.
So it's the boys from the men.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, as well, like people point to that as being a problem with Octopussy, but I go, but it's in an insanely tense.
Yeah,
I mean it's ludicrous because he sort of nips in this trailer and comes out fully made up.
Yeah,
but the point of it is he's then defusing a nuclear bomb, and he's like, and it's all kind of, and Roger Moore plays it so well.
Yeah,
the
action scene on the train stuff is great.
Oh yeah,
it's really good.
No, I'm a big fan of Octopussy, sorry, we must move on from this, but the opening as well, that pre-credit sequence is amazing.
Yeah, the false perspective miniatures of the hangar.
I rest my
flies
case.
Through. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's good.
Moving on to the worst. Worst Bond film in the world ever made.
This is my guilty pleasure Bond movie. It
I'll give you this. Definitely better than Diamonds Are Forever.
Well, thank you very much.
Down with faint praise, but go on then. You please.
Well, Megs, A View to a Kill. Come on, Christopher Walken.
So I hated the Bond girl.
Yeah.
She was awful.
Not Mayday though.
No,
Stacey
let me get there. Let me get to Mayday. Oh man, she just stunk. She wasn't good. And the thing is I'm all for the Bond girls. I love the Bond girls. Their sex appeal, the fact that they can they're just cool. They're great. They're they're great.
Some are better than others, yes.
Can I ask you something on this, right?
Yes.
From a female perspective, because it's become a sort of running thing now, but every Bond girl that comes out goes, this one is different. Because it's played by Hilda from Baumgarten or whatever. But this one is different because she's like Bond's equal. She's strong and powerful, and it's like, I'm sorry, Honey Rider, Ursula Andress, was that. The first thing she does is crawl out of the sea, pull a knife on him, and goes, "I promise you, you're not going to get my shell."
No,
they all.
Well, they've been saying that every single time they do a new Bond movie.
But Stacey Sutton, I would argue, is the prototypical crap damsel in distress.
But you know what you had? You had Mayday, and she was.
Who's the real Bond girl of the movie?
She's the real Bond girl. She is fierce. She's sexy. Totally. She knows what she's doing. She, whatever. Yeah, okay. Like, she's working with the baddie, but whatevs. And she's just like. She's taking no crap. Like,
it's
she's
contractual,
awesome.
though, isn't it? The whole reason she's working with it's not because she's like ideologically married to his thing.
No.
Well, as soon as he betrays her, she's like, "That's it."
When I first saw this, I went to a garden center and I picked up a fountain, as we did, and I was convinced. I could be like Mayday and pick this up.
She kept saying, "I'm like Mayday."
I couldn't.
every time trying to pick something heavy up, she's like, I'm like, let me help you with that. She's like, "No, I am Mayday."
I just imagine Arnold. You could dub Mayday with a Jenny.
I couldn't do it.
But right, okay.
She was great, and then obviously you've got Christopher Walken, who is
he's superb. He's
just
brilliant. He's
so
fantastic.
fun. I mean,
he's Christopher
He's fantastic. The only Bond villain to laugh as he dies.
I do think that is a great moment.
It's so good.
It's just such a great choice.
It's super.
He's like literally gonna die.
He's literally like, jokes on me.
Yeah.
It's great.
I do love that, and I do think he's brilliant. And
the fight on top of the Golden Gate Bridge is so good.
Yeah,
it's so damn good.
I'll give you that. It doesn't.
What an idea! What an idea! What a concept! What an idea!
I just think it is a sclerotically paced film.
Mm-hmm.
As a sort of, I just think it is so sort of like, watch this man who should know better meander through a sort of action film and make a quiche and go to bed.
See, it's weird, isn't it? Because I accept its failings and I know it's nowhere near a good film. It's a guilty pleasure.
It's got its moments.
But for me, but I find it much more fun than Octopussy. Much more fun.
I didn't really understand what the race horses had anything to do with at the beginning.
No, that was just a side gig.
It's a side
That's
gig.
the problem with me. If I'm watching something and something doesn't make sense, I sort of shut off a little. I'm like, no, this is too confusing.
The villains, because famously Roger Ebert, I think, picked it apart and said it doesn't make sense if you intend it's because it's Goldfinger repackaged, right? So it doesn't make because Goldfinger's thing was I'm going to irradiate all the gold in Fort Knox and therefore make my gold worth more because I've taken a bunch of it off the market. This is sort of Christopher Walken going like, I'm gonna destroy Silicon Valley so my chips are worth more. Who are you going to sell them to? You're destroying the market. You're trying to sell. That's different to just gold in a fucking depository. So it doesn't. It's ludicrous.
No, it's ludicrous. It's dumb.
So very quickly, special mention. So you've got what's the Russian agent's name in it? The Tchaikovsky. There's that brief scene. What's her name? Her name's like
it's Fiona Fullerton, isn't it?
It's like
who goes the bubbles tickle my Tchaikovsky.
That was supposed to be Barbara Bach, right? So again, we get this recurring thing where it's like these are supposed to be previous Bond girls coming back for other stuff. Obviously Roger Moore's final film.
Yeah, he is way too old. There's no doubt about it. He is an old man.
He's still
fumbling about.
Would you?
I would.
See, there you go. But it's just
I'd get me a bit more.
And
she would Roger Moore.
And
give him the old Rogering.
And the old gag of drowning someone in a car in a lake and waiting to see if they come out and you breathe, which I know you can't do, but it's such a great idea.
Yeah, Mythbusters did it.
Yeah,
but you're right. It does
breathing
answer
from
the question of like.
Yeah.
I'm going to place him in an
so
easily
they stand there
escapable
waiting, and it's like,
situation
no, he's dead.
Yeah.
It's great.
Enough.
And but it's just got some fun stuff in it, and it's just got such a great finale fight scene, and Christopher Walken, and great ski chase, great score. I love it. I enjoy it. Dolph Lundgren. There you go.
So before we move on, two things. Dolph Lundgren. Thank you, Richard. Richard said that. He was going out with Grace Jones at the time, and this was his first sort of foray into it.
Simulation,
yeah. So one thing, because I don't like this film, but Brad's love of it made me kind of go back and try and find things to like about it. And one of the most amazing throwaway shots is when he's lowered down into the... so they're in the mine, and Christopher Walken's done the whole gunning down people when they're flooding it. And then they lower him down on the bomb or on
the winch, yeah.
On the winch,
and then but then he has to get on the, and he says, "Take it up." Yeah. And she's like, "No, get on."
Just that shot of that thing is just insanely large. Like it's amazing, and it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And all that I do think there's some incredible camera work and some incredible set work in that. So there's again, every Bond film has something about it that I think is worth reading. So big shift change.
Here we go
to the Living Daylights. A lot of people's favourite Bond, Timothy Dalton.
Interestingly enough, I don't like. Okay, I love Timothy Dalton, but I like smiley, happy, hot fuzz Timothy Dalton. That's my kind of Timothy.
So for me, I will say in terms of his performance, I think is very theatrical. He turned it down famously for Your Eyes Only, so he was too young.
Which I give him.
No, it was before that.
I give him credit for thinking. Do you know what? I'm too young for this.
I don't think you should be in your 20s and play James Bond. I know that.
No, not at all.
Lazenby was, but he, didn't look it.
No, but
I think
back then you didn't, did you?
No. Not really.
Before the 1970s, no one looked under 40.
Well, yeah, Connery did not look at it. But I think Dalton's. I think his performance in this is a bit theatrical, if I had to criticise it, but I really don't fault it because I think I love this film for its sprawling. Like you've got this kind of Gibraltar, Russia, UK, Afghanistan. It's got this insane globetrotting stuff. It's got Art Malik. It's got some just amazing and John Rhys Davies, your mate. And it's just got some. It really feels like this globe-trotting adventure that just keeps delivering and keeps delivering and keeps getting bigger and keeps. There are those films that just seem to deliver way beyond their remit, and this is one of those for me. I think it's a much bigger film than License, and because the thing is with Timothy Dalton, because he only did 2, you kind of just compare the two.
It's the 2, yeah.
Yeah, but what did you think?
I thought I didn't hate him, but going from Roger Moore, it was difficult.
You were so specific. You were so loved up on Roger Moore.
Yeah. Fair. But I thought he was good. I thought if he had more time, he would have been brilliant. You know what it was for me? It was his hair. I didn't like his hair.
Bad hair.
It was just okay. I know that's like silly to think, but I don't like his hair. Okay. I liked the opening sequence though.
I love the opening sequence.
I thought that was fantastic.
It's ranked very high. Believe it or not, there are people online who rank the pre-credit sequence. There are adenoid-ridden individuals. Such as myself.
Even the opening scene was...
And it is ranked very highly as one of the best opening scenes. Yeah. And it is usually cited as the best reveal of a new James Bond.
It so is.
Yeah. Exactly.
It so is.
But I thought he held his own on, as Bond.
See, I'm obviously... I think I'm the biggest Dalton defender here. I'm a huge I love Dalton. I love Dalton.
I love Dalton.
I think he's
amazing. And I love him as an actor, and as I said, I love Hot Fuzz.
I honestly think that the moment in Living Daylights, his reaction to Saunders' death is the best bit of acting done by any Bond actor playing Bond.
You've got that.
I think it's so serious.
I think it's tremendous.
There's that thing of like him, the not trusting people is switched on and off. So there's that bit, with Caro. He's like nasty business back there. You know, he's doing the whole kind of like. I think. So look, there's this is where you enter into the kind of Elseworlds thing, where it's like, so either we would have had Dalton Living Daylights through probably World Is Not Enough, or you would have had Brosnan Living Daylights, because
he would have been too young, I think.
Well, he was contracted to do it. That was when so they literally, after Roger Moore was up, he had obviously met the Broccolis on For Your Eyes Only because his wife was in it. They gotten to know each other. They were like, "You're doing it." Then because he became famous because of this TV series Remington Steele, because of the publicity around him being announced as going to be the next James Bond, they were able to resell the series for another season which meant he was contractually obliged to do it. Cubby Broccoli said, "No, sorry, you can't do that, and we're not going to wait for you.
Too many strings.
We're not waiting for you, so we're going somewhere else."
He couldn't quite do a Michael J. Fox.
No, and then they cancelled that season after a few episodes. I think so. He basically got shafted through the 80s. So he was the kind of man who would be Bond.
Which is why he was. It was no surprise when he was Bond.
So that was sort of on the back. So like Timothy Dalton was literally like, but also Timothy Dalton been in the wings for a long time, and it was kind of like, but this film was tooled. It was originally sort of scripted as a kind of Roger Moore film, but for Pierce Brosnan, and then Timothy Dalton did it. Mm-hmm. So it's a mismatch of stuff. I think
I think it works tremendously well.
I love it.
I love it. It's one of my favourite Bond movies.
Very, very different Bond. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he should be. And that's what they should do.
Like, I just love his happy, smiley persona. So to see him so serious and to see him, do this role. I mean, it's great because you see him as an actor really like honing it, but it's just. I loved, and he right from the get go was like, I'm doing as much of the stunts as possible. I want the audience to see my face doing this stuff, and and he really, really, really was dedicated to it. And I think his reveal is just the stuff of cinema. Yeah. I think that whole opening sequence is great. Brilliant.
I think the car chase, the cello chase, we have nothing to declare. I love that, the John Rhys Davies. That shot when he pretends to kill John Rhys Davies and he spawns the spotlight and he goes. He looks incredible in that moment. He looks absolutely incredible. That's one of my favourite Bond shots. Like I said, his performance in that moment where Saunders dies is goose pimply.
That's
for me.
One of those inventive ways to recreate the gun barrel.
Absolutely. And it has that final fight on the back of the.
I was just literally going to say that. On the back of the Hercules, which is like a sort of. It's that double jeopardy thing that people often cite in movies where it's like, oh, you think that's the end? Oh, you think that's the end?
Yeah.
It's a very sort of Spielbergian...
James Cameron-y.
James Cameron. Yeah, 100%. It's got that kind of like just, oh no.
Yeah. Isn't it the first time he doesn't actually get the girl as well? Because like
he was monogamous. It's the first time he saw monogamous.
Yeah, he's monogamous.
She has like a whole different boyfriend, doesn't she?
Well,
that she's trying to get to?
Oh, she's a terrible hussy.
Yeah, she's like,
hussy.
She's leading him on all the. Yeah, no, it's terrible. He likes her. He needs monogamy. She's the only woman, unless you count the woman at the beginning. Won't you join me?
Yeah.
But that Hercules fight on the nets, hanging out the back of that plane. I saw that in the cinema as a kid, and it was mind blowing. And that's the stuff of cinema. That the only Cruise's Mission Impossible stuff equals what that for me is as an action set piece in cinema.
To go back to Octopussy, but it's like that. There's that stunt that Tom Cruise hung off the side of an airplane. Someone did that.
Someone did that in Octopussy. Yeah.
Anyway, but 100%. I love it. I think it's a fantastic.
And the miniatures are incredible. Yeah. It should have got nominated for an Oscar. The Hercules miniatures and the bridge, the force protected bridge.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But the when they come out the back of the Hercules, in the car, that's a miniature. It's all miniature mountains. It's mind blowing. That should have got nominated for a visual effects Oscar.
100%.
It's incredible.
I wonder if people who create miniatures, like, have their own little, you know what I mean?
No.
Like, they're monsters going through the little, cities.
You mean pull their miniatures together?
They walk around. Yeah.
But
it was.
Golden Gate Bridge.
It was. Maybe. But it was. For me, it's flawless.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair. I think it is.
And it's one of those.
Again, it's one of those films where I go, if I want a real sprawling, globe-trotting, adventurous Bond film, that's what I put on.
That's a good.
So License to Kill.
And then we got, which was very controversial at the time.
Yes. The only 15 rated Bond film, I think.
Yep.
Again, just double down on the whole kind of realism.
Robert Davi.
Dive into the kind of drug trade thing. It's one of those films I've come to appraise better over time because
I have.
It's less distinct. It has fewer sort of distinctive changes in scenery, and
it's a very low key movie. It's a very it's basically set in one place, really.
Like Miami or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's what I've come to appreciate about it is more Dalton's performance. He's become more nuanced, I think, as a film actor, and it is more Fleming. It's more sort of
the Robert Davi is very much. It's almost a Scaramanga-y type. Little relationship.
I love the idea of like his whole thing is trust. So Bond plays on that. Bond is much more of a spy in that film. He's more kind of infiltrated, all that sort of stuff. And it's the first instance, I guess, of Bond going rogue.
Yeah, it is. That was the thing of that movie, and now it's just like a blasé.
Originally supposed to be called License Revoked.
Yeah.
Until someone cynically went, people don't know what that means. It's like, well, right. Like, I mean, you might as well then argue people don't know what kill means.
Yeah, well, people don't know, and people knew what octopussy meant. It's like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah.
I love License to Kill. Like for me, Dalton's two Bond movies. I love the Dalton pair. I love them.
They're solid.
I love them.
They're totally solid.
They're great films.
Yeah,
they really are great films.
That fight on the trucks at the end is tremendous.
And I actually think like he's the best Bond for that, like for those two films.
Yeah, you can't imagine that being.
You can't be Roger Moore.
Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
Sclerotic Roger Moore.
Yeah, it just wouldn't have worked. So actually, I think it was a good.
But I also think that Pierce Brosnan, obviously we'll get to it, but I think like he would have been too young at that point. I think
very much so.
Because he looks young anyways. Like
he's always looked a lot younger.
Good paper route or whatever they say.
But we obviously I didn't mention with Living Daylight, so that was the last John Barry score. Which is a tremendous score.
100%.
Great song, wonderful love song, love theme. And then Michael Kamen did the score for this. And I quite like Kamen's score. It's very Michael Kamen.
It's
very Michael Kamen.
It's very Die Hard.
Yeah.
And you've got Johnson and Johnson in this.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So there's a lot of
Die Hard references going on. I think it's a solid film. I think the only thing wrong with it is Felix's quirky manner at the end. He's very smiley in bed, going, "Give Emma a call. He's got a job for you." You know that's the one thing that's out of place.
Two things with this. So like obviously it takes a lot from Live and Let Die, the novel. So there's the Felix lighter of it all. This is what happened to Felix in the novel. He loses his, and then he comes back and he has a hook hand and stuff like that from there on out. And it's kind of like, well, they do that to him in this. But like you say, his wife was raped and murdered.
Yeah.
He's lost limbs in a shark attack.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's like, James, yes, hello. It's like...
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Well, that was the opiates, wasn't it? That's just all the opiates.
We could look at it that way.
David Hedison back from Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's a nice... Because John Terry played Felix Leiter in The Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Utterly forgettable.
Yeah.
I like
John Terry, most famously from Hawk the Slayer.
Yes. Yeah. Not the footballer. Someone else. Apparently that's a footballer.
He was.
So David Hedison. Yeah. I mean, it's. I like License to Kill a lot. I do think it has a lot going for it, but it kind of it gets sort of. People call it like they say it sank the franchise for a long time. It wasn't License to Kill's fault.
No, it didn't. Yeah, it was all the legal issues and MGM's purging and all that stuff.
Ugh.